I used to think that I was saying too much, but then I realized, why don't I just tell my story the way it's meant to be told? Sometimes you can't fit into a system because the system isn't made for you. Sometimes you have to design your own system. That's what I'm designing with Life OS. It's Life OS, it's Soul OS, it's Soul Cinema, it's Innerframe, and welcome to the Soul OS era. So, Life OS, it's my frameworks, it's my inner workings, it's my foundations. It's everything encompassing the foundations of the systems that I'm building for the Soul OS era. Whereas Soul Cinema is my bread and butter, my non-linear storytelling. That's where they come into play. There's collaborations, it's cinematic B-roll and shorts. It's a little bit of everything. This is my like moleskin. This is my note taking. This is my journal. This is my journal. It's everything and in between. Life OS, like I was explaining, is about creative routines. It's about habit stacking. It's about mental resets. It's about workflow breakdowns. It's about gear and tech showcases. It's about creative challenges. It's Q&As. It's AMAs. It's tutorials. Innerframe is therapy reflections, relationship arcs, vulnerability streams, mental health check-ins, journals and reflection prompts, and many documentaries. Soul Cinema also encompasses the album room, which kind of leads me into the next phase of my welcome to, I don't know what episode of the album room this actually is, because I'm recording this way in advance of when this episode is supposed to happen. But welcome to the album room. Welcome back to another episode of the album room, where I cinematically dissect different albums and their traits and what they meant to me, and every song and what they meant to me and stuff like that. And today's albums are actually not these albums. Let me actually pull up the actual albums I'm going to be talking about today. Today's albums are Gemini by LUCKI. I just use that as I just tricked y'all for that placeholder. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just like to leave that little cliffhanger. So we have Gemini on one side, we have Ganger Deluxe on the other side, and this episode of the album room is brought to you by yours truly and ChatGPT. The album room, it was a concept I thought of not even 2 days ago, and I was just like, what other soul cinema type ordeal can I do that fulfills my purpose as a music fanatic, as a content entity? And I stumbled upon the album room. So the album room is where I basically cinematically dissect albums and songs and things that are musically attractive to me. And this week's album room episode is in your freedoms in different ways. The way LUCKI does it and the way Veeze does it is very differently, but they do it in very similar ways at the same time. They're both flexors, they're both druggies, they're both drawn out, they're both kind of slurring their words and stuff like that. But I feel like LUCKI raps at a way slower tempo and a way slower method. than Veeze. Veeze is a lot faster. He's a lot more straight to the point. He's a lot more more cutthroat and very unapologetic with what he says. And you can just tell by the cover arts of both of these. Gemini being a portrait of Lucky and surrounded by various Geminis. I'm sure you can recognize some of the Geminis on this if you zoom in. Let's see if we can zoom in on this cover. It doesn't look like we can zoom in, but you get the point. And just going through each track list, I don't have a favorite out of these two albums. They both do different things for me sonically and methodically, and as a listener, they both do different things for me. And Gemini does something that Ganger doesn't do, and then Ganger does something that Gemini doesn't do, and I'll get to that. I feel like with Gemini, you get like the best of both worlds. You get the numbing and you get the flexing and you get the execution. And this is why this episode is called Numbflexicution, because you're getting the numbness on both albums, you're getting the flexing on both albums, and you're getting it executed in two different ways. I feel like with Lucky, you're kind of fading. No. You're floating into almost like an upper echelon. Whereas with Veeze's album, you're kind of like fading into oblivion and fading down some treacherous ways and dark paths and whatnot. And you're kind of stuck. So I feel like with Lucky, you're kind of you're floating into an abyss. And then with Veeze, you're kind of fading into darkness, if that makes sense. I mean, you just listen to the track by track. I'm not gonna play each track and go track by track and analyze the tracks. This is me cinematically trying to break it down to you as concrete as possible, and still grounded in reality. Because I know I'm not the most cinematic filmer, and I'm not taking these crazy cuts and crazy takes and whatnot. But what I am doing is I'm constructively breaking down the albums, and I guess in my own way, cinematically breaking it down, because I am filming it and I am breaking it down in a way that's applicable to most people. Ignore the now playing on my Spotify. But the Deluxe really does not do much for me for Ganger. It's really the meat of the album is in the original. And they're both pretty concise. I mean, 50 minutes versus an hour and 12 minutes. They're pretty straightforward albums. It doesn't take too much to understand them. But I really like Gemini a lot. I really enjoy Gemini. I feel like Gemini was Lucky's he did a really good job controlling the narrative with Gemini. I feel like he did a really good job controlling the narrative. And I feel like with Veeze, he does a really good job of blurring the narrative and creating this illusion that he's a good guy, but he's really not a good guy, and he's really not a standout dude. But he creates this illusion that he is a standout dude. With Lucky, he's telling you straight up, I am a bad person, and you should not be following me and following my guidance. If that makes sense. But yeah, I feel like Ganger is very, very, very fadey, whereas Gemini is very floaty. I can listen to Gemini and not feel like I'm gonna crash and burn and stuff like that, and feel like I'm fading into darkness. I'm floating into an abyss, but I'm not. It's a clean abyss. It's like a bright utopian abyss. Whereas with Ganger, I feel like I'm fading into that darkness of the abyss, and I don't know if I have a way out. So with that being said, it's my first episode of Album Room. I'll get better as these episodes go along, and as I listen to more and more albums that pique my interest and pique the overall stickiness of the series, which is going to be to break down the albums and the album that I feel like, you know, quintessentially matches the vibe. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.